All right, welcome in everybody. We have made it through the very treacherously long Survivor off season, and Survivor 48 is just a couple days away. So, in celebration, I'm going to be looking at this upcoming cast and giving my opinions, thoughts on everybody here. And we're going to be writing a little Survivor fan fiction for fun. We're going to be going through my predicted boot order for Survivor 48. Which obviously is going to be wrong and going to have a lot of misreads, but that's the fun in it. So, and yeah, let's get right into it. Cheers with the Jeff Probst mug in celebration. All right, let's start this off with my prediction for the first boot of Survivor 48, where I do have Kevin from the Green Tribe, and Kevin is somebody that I don't know how else to explain it other than it's the most first boot energy that I've really ever seen. I mean, he is somebody who has this very big smile on his face, but is also very transparently sneaky. And I think that it's just going to be really easy to read this guy. And I think that if you put him in some of these early game situations where maybe he goes off on a journey or he has to, do something that involves like lying to his tribe, I think he's going to be too eager to try and play too hard and overplay his way out of the game because in the end, I don't think people are going to trust him. And I think that Kevin is going to play his way out. And unfortunately, I hate to say this comparison because it feels very disrespectful, but he does give me a vibe of like a mix of Jelinski and Banu, which combined might be the worst player of all time. So we'll have to see with Kevin. But yeah, he is my prediction for the first boot of Survivor 48. All right, moving on to my prediction for the second boot, 17th place, where I do have Camilla, the 30-year-old Discord mod on this season. And I like Camilla. I think Camilla has fun, weird energy that I'm excited to see, how it translates in New Era Survivor. She describes herself as annoying, and everybody in her hometown appears to agree, which is pretty funny. She also used the word Giga Chad in her preseason press, which yeah. But yeah, I just see Camilla being a bit too unaware of her own perception, and Camilla is unfortunately the smallest person on this cast, so I do think it would take a lot for her to compensate for that, and unfortunately I'm not going to bet on Camilla, so I have her as my second boot. All right, moving on to my prediction for the third boot of Survivor 48, and that is Bianca from the Purple Tribe, so I have one from each tribe here, evening things out. But for Bianca, I've seen some people pretty high on her, and I just gotta say, like, the best way for me to put it is I don't get the aura from from Bianca in the way where I like understand her as a character kind of right off the bat, right? And a lot of these people, you can just tell that they have it. They have the character that is good for TV. It's good for Survivor. A mind for the game. For Bianca, I just don't see it personally. I'm sorry. I don't see her connecting with people on the way that, everybody, that this purple tribe is stacked. We'll get to a lot of players on this purple tribe soon, but for Bianca, I feel like early boot makes more sense for her, unfortunately. So I do have her here in 16th place. All right, moving on to my prediction for the fourth boot of Survivor 48, where I have pizzeria worker Justin. Justin is very Italian. He is a very chill guy. He's a cool dude. And I, unfortunately, just don't feel the emotional connection with Justin right now. I don't see that much, like, raw character when he talks. And I just think that I look at this Green Tribe, and, man, there are some, like, genuinely big emotional personalities on this tribe, and I just think that Justin is kind of likely to be left behind. The thing is, though, Justin like definitely could surprise me. Like, he does have the qualifications to go deep in this game, and so if he does make it, to the merge, he can sneak by. Don't sleep on him. Don't write him off. But just for me, I think he's probably going to be an early boot. So I do have him going out here in 15th place. But now moving on to my prediction for the fifth boot. And this is where I have Mr. Chocolate Milk. David, unfortunately, I think is going home pre-merge. And this sucks because David is kind of a draw of the season for me. He's such a casting throwback, right? This, like, stunt devil, massive guy who has never seen this show before. It's like recruit vibes, right? I mean, he did not know Jeff Probst's last name up until very recently, which is just hilarious. But how is a player like David going to translate to the new era where there's so much meta-ness in the gameplay? And it's confusing, right? Because you could look at David as this massive meat shield and take him deep into the game because he doesn't know really how to play. So, pretty solid ally, right? But David also could be somebody who just does not understand how to manage his threat level and plays over aggressively and is just too big of a target to where pre-merge on a tribe with some pretty aggressive players like Charity and Mitch, I think being players who are willing to pull this trigger, I think David's probably going to go home. So unfortunately for him, I have him going home here pre-merge. All right, moving on to the Mergatory, 13th place. And the Mergatory in the new era is an interesting spot where essentially all of these votes have been like unanimous. And it's kind of the spot in the new era where everybody comes together and says, hey, this is such a risky vote that we just want to find somebody that we're all chill with leaving. So that's why you saw someone like Rome go home last season. Mariah was somebody that was just kind of like expendable in the grand scheme of the game. And so they went home at the Mergatory. And so I'm picking somebody this season that I feel like is chaotic and isn't going to be reliable enough for players to really fight for, to keep in the game at this Mergatory. So I do have Sei going home here in 13th place. And this is unfortunate because I think Sei is going to be an interesting character this season. Sei is very chaotic and very judgmental and like somebody who is going to speak her mind. There will be a fight this season involving Sei. And so that's kind of why I just kind of automatically assume that like at the Mergatory they'll probably just throw her under the bus, right? But I do hope I'm wrong. I've heard people call her the new era Abby Maria. We'll have to see. But yeah, Sei is I don't really think that Sei fully knows Survivor that well. She is a massive fan of Drea and Marianne, which I don't know. The vibes I get from Sei is that she watched like Survivor 42 and that was it. But but yeah, I do have Sei going home at 13th place, and now we move on to 12th place, which is typically the split tribal. And so because of that, unfortunately, I'm going to pick someone from the purple tribe because at this point, they still have 5 players left. I think that they could get targeted in this spot. They might want to chop someone down. We saw Tuku have to do this last season. So very unfortunately, because this player is one of my favorites, but just missing the jury at 12th place, I have Star. Star is a big personality. Star is a very loud voice, and it isn't in a chaotic and antagonizing confrontational way that you may assume. Star is actually just very nice and very funny, but there is a lot of energy there, and I don't know how Star is going to be able to like really build those connections right off the bat. But I do think that Star is fun energy on this season. I'm excited to see her, and I think that there is some upside, like legitimately. She has Survivor knowledge, she has some gameplay knowledge, but I don't know. I something feels like she's more likely to flame out a little bit to me, so I have her going here at 12th. All right, moving on to the jury phase of the game where we have 11th place, and I have Mitch. Now, Mitch is one of the more interesting players this preseason. He has talked about wanting an all-male Final 3, which is, yeah, his favorite players are Spencer Bledsoe, and get ready, Joe Anglim. So, yeah, I mean, we may have a misogynist on this season. That is a fair assumption, but Mitch is still a pretty funny and charismatic guy. He does have a speech impediment. He has a stutter, but I don't see that really getting in the way of him like forming connections because like the guy's kind of hilarious, and like I think that he has a mind for the game. I think he's gonna play aggressively. I almost get the vibes from Mitch that he's going to overplay. I think he could be someone that leads like this David vote pre-merge, and I think it could be a little premature for him. And I think that Mitch could play his way out of the game almost, but I also think Mitch just might be a big threat. Like that's kind of the vibes I get from him. I think he's going to be a dangerous player, but I don't know about a deep run for Mitch, so I do have him going here at 11th. All right, 10th place, we have the youngest person on this cast, 24-year-old. Old-ass cast, man. But here we have Ava. Um, I don't really know. I don't have much of a feeling on on Ava. I don't know about you, but I don't really get much of a strong vibe from her, and I think that there's something to be said about her mind for the game where she seems like very focused on like the physical aspects of the game. She is an athlete, and I think that like being the youngest player on the cast, like she feels a little out of place, and I don't know if, and also the youngest player on this cast like by a lot. So I don't know if Ava's going to really fit in enough, and I think that there's a world where she becomes a little bit threatening in this early stage of the merge as a big physical beast. I expect her to be, a challenge threat, but also just somebody who doesn't really have the installation in the game, and so I do have her getting cut. Early merge, like almost reminded me of like Kelly from 45, somebody who is just gonna get sniped a little bit too soon. All right, we move on to ninth place where I have Cedric. Now Cedric is a very sweet guy, a very nice dude. I have to just say, like, my first thought was, like, this guy might be too nice for this game. Like, this guy, I don't know if people are already getting good vibes from him preseason. They've mentioned, the dude with glasses that is smiling at everybody, right? That's Cedric right now. And so coming into this game, I do expect Cedric to make it to the merge, right? I think that he can be a reliable ally, somebody that people want to play with early on. But you get to this mid-merge stage, and I just think Cedric will get caught in the crossfires. I don't think Cedric will be able to really maneuver himself well enough, and I'm just kind of worried for his actual game abilities. So unfortunately, I do have Cedric going ninth place. All right, we are now moving on to eighth place, where I have one of the most threatening players of this season, and that is Thomas. Now, Thomas works in the music industry, managing artists such as Olivia Rodrigo, Pink Panthers, just some very, legitimate stars in current day music. And you can tell why he is in that position because he is so charismatic, and he seems like it's charismatic in a way that it doesn't come off as fake, right? Like he does have some genuine empathy when it comes to the way he's talking to people, and I think he's going to build some very strong social connections. The thing is with Thomas, I think he's going to just be too big of a threat when it comes down to this sort of mid-merge area where those type of players get cut. And unfortunately, Thomas is one of my favorite players coming into this, but I just think I can't really see him getting to the end, unfortunately. But if he does, massive chance to win. The comparison that I saw was Omer, which I think is a very good comparison. Yeah, I'm very excited for Thomas. All right, moving on to seventh place, where I have Charity. Charity comes from a religious background where she did not feel comfortable or accepted, and she decided to leave and become a flight attendant. And that type of mentality, you can get it right off the bat from Charity. She knows who she is. She's confident. She's a little bit judgmental, a little bit cocky, a little overconfident in some ways, right? A little bit assuming on other players around her. But she is very, concrete in herself, and I think you get that vibe pretty strong. The person that came to my mind when I watched Charity is Shan. And that's a big comparison. I mean, Shan, one of my favorite players of all time. I mean, I just think that Charity is going to get a bit too eager and be a bit too much of an endgame threat here. So I have her going out seventh, but I'm excited to see what Charity can do, the damage that she can do this season. All right, sixth place. This is the end game of Survivor 48. These are the players who I really think are going to be the foundation of this season. Coming in at sixth place, I have Joe Hunter. Close your eyes. Is it Jeremy Collins? Is it Joe Hunter? Who is it? I don't know. He's a firefighter, family man, like massive dude who is just like sweet and lovable and kind. And it's just like Joe Hunter is designed in a lab to win Survivor. But unfortunately, I have him going here at sixth. I just think he's too big of a threat. Would Jeremy Collins in the new era be able to make the end? Or is this game progressed to the point where someone as obviously good and threatening is just going to get cut? We saw, I guess, someone like Caleb, right, from 45. But I think Joe is a bit more aware of his threat level. He talks about it a lot pre-game. And, obviously he saw Caleb flame out, so I think there's legit, I think Joe is going to, run this season, honestly. I mean, him and Shaheen being on the same tribe, that's going to be dangerous. And I think that Joe is a very, very strong winner pick, but I do have him going here at 6th. But I'm, of course, rooting for Joe Hunter. Who the hell isn't? All right, coming in 5th place, where I have Chrissy. Now, I love Chrissy. One of my favorites. Everybody will love Chrissy. Definitely, like, you know, one of just, like, the most authentic people in this cast. Like, Chrissy does not care about Survivor 50. She doesn't care about New Era Survivor. Like, really, it doesn't really seem like it. She's really just out there to be herself. And you can tell, like, you get that genuine energy from Chrissy. She's going to build legit connections with people. Chrissy is the oldest person on this cast, and she wants to fight that perception of being seen as, like, this mom type of figure. And instead, she wants to be seen as, like, the cool aunt, which I think is the right route to take for Chrissy, and I think she can pull it off. She is very just, like, relatable, and I think that Chrissy is somebody that is going to be a huge endgame threat. But yeah, unfortunately, I do think Chrissy is going to be too big of a threat to make it to the end. I think she's going to get cut. But I'm definitely rooting for Chrissy. And honestly, I think she's going to be a better player than people may assume. I think Chrissy is a very, very legit chance to win this game. All right, moving on now to 4th place, the fire-making loser. And here is where I have Mary. Mary's my favorite. Mary is probably going to be Survivor Twitter's favorite, and it's because Mary is a real ass person, and that is my favorite archetype on Survivor. She reminds me of almost like a older, more mature version of like Teeny. I'm just really excited to see Mary this season. She is such a funny person. I mean, her social media activity is hilarious. She describes herself as a walking contradiction, which I find very funny because her favorite player, the player she wants to play like, is Ben Driebergen, which I know is an unpopular pick, but I mean, that's just so funny that I appreciate it. But yeah, I think Mary is awesome, and I'm super excited to see her. She clearly loves people and loves talking to people and connecting with people, and so she's going to be a dangerous player, but I do have her coming just short. All right, final 3. We have the 3 finalists. I have Shaheen, Kyle, and Stephanie. These are my pick for the final tribal council. Let's start off with 3rd place, where I have Kyle. Now, Kyle, I do like Kyle. Chill dude. He described himself as the most average man in the world, and sure. I mean, he seems a bit above average to me, but he's a cool dude, and he has a solid mind for the game. I just can see things going wrong for Kyle. I almost can see like a Jake from 45 type of path. I don't know if Kyle's going to be an aggressive enough player. I don't know if Kyle is going to have the social capital to really have weight in the game. I just get like losing finalist vibes from him. I'm sorry. I do like Kyle. I'm rooting for him, but unfortunately, he is my pick for 3rd place. All right, 2nd place. This is my runner-up pick of Survivor 48, and this is where I have Stephanie. So, yes, that does mean Shaheen is my winner pick, but we'll get to that in a second. Stephanie is going to be a big character this season, big personality. And is going to be a good player. Like, Stephanie can connect with people. You can see how she can build legit connections. I just don't think that she's going to win. I don't know. I'm sorry. She's not my winner pick, so I have her making the I can't explain it. It gets so deep into like really theorizing. My point is that I think Stephanie's going to make it far, but not be the winner. All right. My winner pick for Survivor 48 is none other than Beard Man, Shaheen. I could listen to Shaheen talk for hours. Shaheen has some of the most natural aura and understanding for the game that I've seen in preseason in a long time. I mean, Shaheen is built for this game, built for Survivor, and not in a way where it's going to be like he's just like, you know, too threatening and he's doomed, right? Because Shaheen is somebody who really knows this game. And even with this beard and like with this, I think he's going to be like kind of immediately seen as like this sneaky type of player. But I really don't think that's going to be the case for Shaheen. I think Shaheen is honest and authentic and is going to play a very social game more than a game that is strategic and really cutthroat, right? I think Shaheen is actually going to be a very personable player, right? And so because of that, I think Shaheen is going to make his way to the end. I'm going to bet on Shaheen, and I know that it might be a bit too easy, a bit too good to be true, maybe, but Shaheen, to me, he understands this game in a way that very few do, and I don't know how else to put it other than that. I think he's going to win Survivor 48. Also, he wants to be the new era Jonathan Penner. What a pick, man. What a pick. All right, so that is my predictions for Survivor 48, going through the boot order, going through each player, giving some kind of comparisons of players that we've seen in the past. I think that this cast is going to be like a really good mix of people here. I think that you have a lot of, I mean, this is one of the oldest casts in Survivor history, but it doesn't feel dry or not fun, right? Like a lot of people, I think, are going to be chaotic and ridiculous in a way that will kind of remind you of like Survivor 46, but I think you also have some very mature strategists and like real people on this season that is going to remind you of like 45 and 47 in the way that those seasons played out. So I think that 48 has a nice blend of the aspects that have made the new era casting so good, in that you have real authenticity, but you also still have like this chaotic messiness that makes for good TV. So I'm super excited for Survivor 48. Everybody let me know your winner pick in the comments right now. But it can't be Shaheen, because then you're copying me. I'm the first and only person to pick Shaheen. Everybody else is copying me. And if Shaheen wins, I should get a split of the $1 million check. But yeah, I'm going to be making videos and covering Survivor 48 all season, giving just some thoughts on the state of the game, the state of the season, and also just talking about Survivor. Is my favorite show. I love it so deeply. So if you also love Survivor, drop me a follow, maybe. Drop me a subscribe. Maybe. I don't know. And yeah, I will see y'all later in just a couple, it may be like a week from now, when Survivor 48 is back, baby. Let's go.